segment. Click that, save chat. Right above it shows up a little prompt that says show in folder. And it shows you where it stores that information from the chat. And if you're having other issues, let me know. And I'm going to stop telling you stories about Zoom. We all know there's a good way to beautify yourself in there, but that uses more bandwidth. And over to you, Margaret Ann.
Thanks, Bernie. Okay, everybody, we did go live, so we'll have this on YouTube and LinkedIn. So welcome to anybody that's tuning in. You're always more than welcome to join us on the call in here. I'm Margaret Ann Davis, and I'm part of the Connect Ottawa Business Network, and thrilled to have our guests here, and looking forward to hearing from Richard Hoy today on a little bit about taxes, I believe. But first, we'd like to share a little bit about Connect Ottawa. For those that are new to what we're doing, we actually bring business people together, and that's we're actually believe in diversity, different cultures. We've been around the world, so local, global. We enjoy connecting, because this is the thing. If you've heard of 60 degrees of separation or anything, you just never know who you're going to talk to that's going to know somebody else. So that's what it's all about. Never just look at the audience that you're with. Sometimes it's important to just have a clear message, help them understand, so when they hear that next thing at the conversation, they're thinking of you. So again, thrilled that you're all here. What we're going to do first is we're going to go around quickly in the room, have everybody introduce themselves, and I invite you all to copy and paste all your details into the box, because this is also a little networking on the side, and you want to leave your details so people can reach out to you and have a conversation afterwards. So on that note, hey, Ruddy, it's great to see you here. Why don't we start with you?
Oh, hey, hi, Margaret Ann. How are you? Nice to see you. Been chatting offline, but it's nice to chat live. My name is Ruddy Daniels. I am the owner-publisher for Main Street Magazine. It's an online digital magazine that comes out on a monthly basis, provides you with information to share. And this month, of course, is Black History Month. So the magazine is focused fully on Black history, supporting Black business, Black-owned businesses, as well as looking at the history of Black businesses and the contribution that Black folks have made throughout the history of Canada and US and around the world.
Very cool. You'll need to share your link in the chat there for your magazine, your Main Street Magazine, so people can check that out and subscribe. Thanks a lot, Duddy. Duddy. Did you like that? Sorry, yeah. I'm so used to Ruddy going.
like buddy with an R, right?
I know. Oh dear, sorry about that. Eric, how about you? You are on mute.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Sonego. I'm an accountant in private practice. Everything else is on the chat box.
Short and sweet. Who else have we got here? Maria.
Hi. I'm having bandwidth issues, so I'm just going to say hello and turn this camera off. Essentially, I'm here because I love learning with you guys and connecting. And that's about all right now, because I'm going to turn off the camera before it freezes me and kicks me off.
Okay, thanks a lot, Maria, for joining us. And Teresa, nice to have you here.
Hi, I'm Terry Black from Vis-a-Vis, and I help seniors and families find retirement homes and private home care service. Thanks for having me.
And William.
Hi, everyone. My name is obviously William Hoy. I am the Director of Sales at CATAX, working with Richard, who is my father.
Nice. Well, we're thrilled to have you here, William. And okay, Bernie.
What do I do for a living? Well, I connect people, business to business environments, and I enjoy it. As part of it is a Pure Fog, Connect Ottawa as a result. And I'm going to leave it at that, connecting people to people. And over to you, Margaret Ann.
Boy, we're all being really short and sweet today. This is like that 15-second introduction. Anyways, that's great. So I'm Margaret Ann Davis. I like to say I'm from downtown Fitzroy Harbor. And what do? I like to connect people. I'm partners in Connect Ottawa. I'm also partners in Unified Remote Work, and that's providing tools and technologies to support business. And that doesn't matter if you're starting out, do you need that hand to guide you down the road, or if you're seasoned. And we're really excited as we're starting to launch some new tools for our members in Connect Ottawa and whoever else needs them. So that's like a learning management system where you can put your courses online. Let's see, what else are we doing?
Digital e-card.
Yes, the NFC card. And what are they like, Bernie? Tell us a little bit of them.
So near field communication card is a card that has your information as a QR code. And you can help move the information either by tapping and going to someone's cell phone. You can share the contact details, or it's like another version of other online features where they aggregate all your contact details in one spot. It does it in one piece. You'll notice it in my, I'll just post it now. You'll notice it in my posting that I did earlier, that I have something that goes link the .v1 and then on it goes, right? So that has all my profile information in one shot.
That's super. And you know what I love about that is you can also, with our card, be totally prepared for presentations and those last minute meetings when we get back out meeting face to face, because all your information is one spot. Little tap and you're ready to go. So on that note, I'd like to again invite everybody for joining us. And Bernie, I'll pass that over to you to introduce our dynamic guest speaker today, Richard Hoy.
Folks, Mr. Richard Hoy, he's been in business for 40 plus years. He spent 32 of it across 5 corporate organizations in 9 countries. Something about air miles. He's racked up some points in that universe, being booting around. He's been working in roles with Xerox, Lucent, Cable and Wireless, and Leadcore. The gent right now is residing in the wonderful Vancouver area, and he was responsible for growing his business from 80 million to 1 billion in revenues and increasing profitability by tenfold over 7 years. And he grew his team from 200 to over 1,700 staff. He's president of KTAX Canada, or KTAX Canada. He's responsible for bringing industry-leading tax consultancy to Canada. And he has 14,400 clients across 6 countries and is a recognized leader in this area. And Richard, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to be talking about tax. I'm going to do my best to not let it become stuffy. And I would love if people wanted to ask questions either in the chat or if they wanted to just put their hands up or whatever. I'm more than happy to keep this as much a dialogue as a presentation. So I'm going to actually share some slides and I'll go through it. Please feel free to interrupt me at any time. It's much more fun if it's a discussion. Okay, could you confirm you can see a slide?
You're working good.
Good. So that's me, richard.hoy@catax.com, or you can call me on my cell, 604-314-4648. At any time with any question. Well, not any question. I do limit it just a little bit, but any reasonable question. I'm going to talk about a part of tax law, which is the right of every taxpayer who runs a business, who innovates. And we're going to talk about, it's called SHRED, which stands for Scientific Research and Experimental Development. CATAX, we have grown our business significantly and relatively quickly because of our ability to help clients achieve the objectives they're trying to achieve, create cash in their business, and be able to utilize that again and again through years of innovative behavior. We work with a very diverse bunch of clients, and I will actually cover some of those clients in a little while. So for some reason, that slide, my slides aren't going round. Anyone got any ideas?
Just click on your screen and then move your right button, your right cursor button.
I am doing that. Let me unshare and share again. 1 second. Stop share. I do this all day, every day, and it's amazing that that this isn't working. Right, let's try now. Okay, we have the ability to do something different here. Escape.
It's always when least expected, eh? There's just a little quirk in the game. And it's something really easy, Richard. You know that.
Well, I hope in the non-slide version,
there we go.
Here I can actually literally click on the side. So
perfect.
Do it. So the agenda that I'm going to cover is we're going to go through basically what is innovation, what isn't it, and what is innovation in the context of this law. We'll talk a little bit about Canada Tax. I will give a glimpse into the CATAX team and what we're about. We'll talk about the opportunity. I'll talk about some, and I'll do it through some clients that we've got that you might not have considered that these sorts of industries to be particularly innovative, but we found an awful lot of clients in these sorts of areas. And we're going to talk about our approach. So most people have actually heard of Shred. And usually when I start a presentation, especially in a large room, I'll say, who's heard of it? Nearly every hand goes up.
Okay.
And I say, how many of you had a good experience with it? And nearly every hand goes down. And Eric, as an accountant, I'm sure you've got clients and experience in that sort of area. It is torturous, painful, and the process has been made, if I could best say it, so hard that most clients give up halfway through it, as far as I can tell. And that's really why CATAX exists, because we're able to follow a formulaic approach. We have experts that we bring talented people in every industry we work in, and we help our customers to demonstrate the quality of their work. So the definition of innovation is executing an idea which addresses a significant challenge and achieves value for both businesses and customers. Well, that's okay. But what it has to do in the context of the Canadian law is you have to be doing something on purpose. There needs to be a why. There needs to be a problem you're overcoming, or a challenge, a technological or uncertainty that we need to be overcoming. And those uncertainties can be a wide variety of things, everything from in the wine industry to scaffolding companies to construction businesses, and of course all manner of different technologies. It's appropriate it is in every province, although every province has slightly different rules on the provincial component, but more or less it's relevant in every province. But again, if we go and look at in Canada, out of the 1.3 million companies in Canada, only about 22,000 claim per year. And really, that's a huge deficit versus the potential opportunity for companies. And the reason is because the way that the CRA, who administer this program, operate is they make it incredibly hard for companies that aren't incredibly obviously innovators, like pharmaceutical companies or software companies. They make it very hard for people to actually claim. And I believe that at 2% of companies claiming, that demonstrates a significant underclaiming. In my view, the reason they underclaim is because it's complicated. The rules are ambiguous. When you actually print out all of the rules, it's a file about that thick. This 30 pages is just the different rates of the different provinces. It's incredibly ambiguous, and it's also unbelievably rigorously managed. So imagine you've got a goalkeeper who is also the referee, who is competing with you to stop you actually getting the money that is your right. And that is the world we live in here. Typically, it's, accountants have got such a broad knowledge, and in their accreditation. Typically, accountants spend about 40 minutes on Shred over a four-year period. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you nodding there. If you'd have been shaking your head, I'd have died there. Thank you. The accountants we work with, they're not our competitors at all. We are absolutely complementary to them in the way that an accountant would be the equivalent of a doctor, and we are the equivalent of a surgeon that operates on one tooth at the back of your mouth. It is that level of speciality in what we do, despite the fact everybody has the same opportunity to play in this game. When you look at our business, we've been in business about 14 years. We have about 15,400 clients now. We've moved along a little, and we have people all over the world. The people we bring in are specialists, and so they typically have PhDs. They understand the industry. They are incredibly high end, and the people we use can be in anywhere. I mean, we've got people in Mexico, people in Poland, people in the UK, and people in Canada, of course. But it's more about having people who genuinely can understand the industry, understand the nuances of the industry, and be able to articulate the finer points of the specifics. Because we're going to end up going into some very deep discussions with the CRA to make sure our clients are successful. So we need to be able to understand it as well as the people who are the experts in our clients. We have people, about 130 people who support us. William and I, we are client interfacing, and then we bring the technical people in once we've actually identified, we believe that there's something valid there to look at. Oh, sorry, I went on the other side. CATX, the reason people use us and they come back to work with us year after year after year is that we take all the work away. Something that would be about 50 hours of work, we bring our clients in usually about 4 hours of work, and that includes the time with the accountant and the time with the technical people. And the whole process should only take, so for the sake of it, let's say 4.5 hours of people's effort. We prepare every claim and we submit it, and we work on the principle that there's going to be a challenge from the CRA. And therefore we're ready to go into the escalation process with the CRA, and we usually win after we've gone through that process. I say usually, the vast majority of the times we win are because we've got our act together, we've been able to articulate it appropriately, we've documented it appropriately, and then we have the tenacity to ride the process to get to the other side of it. Where we have not won is where a client has misled us with certain information, or we find that some valid claim had an invalid financial component because the client had then sold the pilot project onto a client, and therefore they were double dipping. So if the clients tell us the whole truth, if we know all of the facts, we're going to win. It applies to businesses in any industry, and we have such a wild diversity of clients. And I say that again, that this is not related to one industry, although it's very, very highly focused in the technology spaces, because they literally, they're getting money from investors to go and create technology. So therefore, everybody knows that that's a place to go if you're involved in Shred. In our case, we actually work all over the place. We work with wineries, breweries. I think William, you did a count of the number of breweries. I think we've got 72 Canadian breweries or something like that. Is that right? 77. Distilleries. I mean, people are, and this is where I do my embarrassing disclosure. this box here in the middle of my office is filled with booze of our clients. I have to exercise for 2.5 hours every single day to allow myself to partake. But we work it all over the place. We're working in chemical engineering companies. We're working with businesses who are designing theaters, buildings, bridges, scaffolding, and I'll show you a couple of those sorts of things in a moment. What qualifies? If we're solving problems, if we're all sorts of innovation of any type, integration of software, integration of 2 different softwares where you have to write middleware, machinery and equipment, weights and measures systems, increasing efficiency, sustainability, anything that's brown water, anyone's working on environmental, changing the environmental outputs of things, exhaust, or any of those sorts of scenarios, typically are causing people to outthink problems. And when they're outthinking problems, that's a very lush place to find shred opportunities. Certainly in the software world, we find ourselves an awful lot of times, but clear, tangible products that people are creating. One of the joys of our lives is we get to wander around, talk to people about their passions, whatever it is that they are creating, evolving, developing. And we meet some amazing, clever people and get to go and do mini MBAs on their business. It's a really wonderful and exciting place to be at this end of my career. As I said, software, automation, failed successful projects. From the point of view of this particular law, it doesn't matter whether you tried something and it worked or you tried something and it failed. One of our successful claims, unfortunately, was for a person who was bee farming and wanted to create a new bee culture that was going to be better for the longevity and the production of honey and the ability to keep bees alive. Unfortunately, in the first year of that program, all the bees died. Tragic, but a true story. And because it was genuine innovation, they were aspiring to achieve an outcome. It was still legitimate, even though it was a fail. And there are many examples of that where people set off on a journey to try and create a software or product in a certain way, and halfway through they realize that one element of that product is undermining them. For example, blockchain. They started off using an open source blockchain, which is anonymous. And halfway through, they realize actually it's not going to work in a REIT environment where they need to have, where people need to know where their money is. So it can't be an anonymous scenario. So they ended up having to go back and rewrite the middle part. Those trials and tribulations on the way to success are equally valuable as the actual success. This picture here is of a scaffolding solution that was created by some tremendously clever people, probably the cleverest people we've come across in that industry, a company called Skyline Scaffolding. Wonderful people. And what they and this scenario is on the top of the HSBC building in Vancouver. It's about 60 meters up from the ground. It's on about a 60-degree slope, and there's glass, and you can see on the left-hand picture, people are working down below while they're replacing 30-year-old pieces of glass that are incredibly heavy. And to do that, they had to create a small railway that had never been done, that allowed them to work up there safely, to have people on multiple levels, which you can see in the right-hand picture. And they needed to create it, be able to move it. They needed to design brand new pieces of scaffold that had never been created to be able to enable them to do this. The reason I've got those photos is William and I put hard hats and steel-toed boots and then climbed up there and actually went and saw the site. It was really rather amazing. This next one is the inside of a winery. It's a winery called Okanagan Crush Pad up in Summerland in the Okanagan. And what they wanted to do, they had a limited space because of the size of the building envelope. They needed to design a way to create, to be able to get and utilize more of their space. So they have these concrete wine tanks, and there are 2 layers of them. And in the middle of this picture on the left, you can actually see a gantry that they had to design to be able to hang from the ceiling to enable them to be able to service the upper tanks. Add to that, there was a whole load of other metalwork that needed to be created and evolved for them to be able to do this. And this winery is one of the most creative and innovative places in the Narromata or in the Okanagan. This next picture is in the cannabis world, and it's a highly secure location that I can't mention the name of, behind some very large fences. And basically what they do is they go from brownfield cannabis creation in the fields around them. It comes in at one end of the building, and by the time it gets to the other end of the building, it is medical grade, pharmaceutical grade, food grade product, and it comes and all the way through. And they had to design everything from the lighting is brand new and it enables them to use it in the various stages. So when they're germinating seeds to when they're actually drying the seeds out or whatever it might be, all the way through. They had to change the HVAC, and because of where this particular place is, it's on the edge of a community. Therefore, they needed to work on the filtering systems and of the air, and also the way they managed the brown water coming out of the building. That needed to be super filtered and changed. The brand new products to be able to enable them to do that. On the right hand side is a product from a company called Keep Labs. And what it does is it keeps pharmaceutical products, not just marijuana, keeps pharmaceutical products safe, locked in. It's electronic. It's got technology that allows for the appropriate amount to be given to people with dementia or whatever, so they can be kept safe from overdosing or forgetting their, and it also drives stimulus to cause them to take their medication when they should. You'll have to excuse me. Just at the point when I paused there was someone came up to the window of my office and wanted to engage me, wondering why I was talking so animatedly. These are 2 different constructions. On the top right-hand corner is the largest wooden structure that had been designed utilizing pure gravity to hold it together. It is an incredible piece of work. It's all math, all science in the way that it was put together and designed. And basically the pieces were pre-cut. They arrived at site, just got dropped into place. And this building purely uses the science of maths and angles and weight to hold itself together. On the left-hand side is a coffee company in Vancouver on the north, which is called Nemesis Coffee. They're fabulous products. And they've got a number of different claims from the way they grow their coffee, so the nutrients and the minerals that they put in the soil below the coffee trees and coffee bushes, and the way that they're able to impact and change the quality of the coffee, through to the building itself And as you can see, they designed this building with a unique glass type tile, again, which brought with it a whole herd of other challenges on how do you actually make a building out of glass that is functional as a coffee shop, a roasting location, as well as you needed to put sound baffling in because of the shape of it and the noise inside it. This is one of the most incredible, fabulous architectural buildings that required multiple architects. People are halfway through the program, went through their hands in and went, no, this is too hard, we can't do it. And then the next people who came in were able to overcome that problem. They've had to do everything from the way they baffle the sound, and they've got these incredibly attractive fins of fireproof material that hang from the ceiling, which also, of course, had to be custom made, custom created, and then tested. And the first approach that they had to that didn't work, and they needed to go on to look at it differently. So the sorts of expenses you can claim are everything from employee salaries, if they're consultants, Canadian consultants, wasted material, so anything that is consumed in the process of innovation and creation, travel expenses, providing they're on your personal credit card, not a company credit card, and a portion of overhead expenses as well. So again, typically it's different by every province, but typically we're claiming between 18 and 42% of the money that you have spent on innovation will be able to claim back. And if you're a private limited company, it comes as a check straight into your bank. It's cash. You can do anything with it. I mean, I say that, but typically clients tend to put it back into the next year's innovation. With the largest corporate companies, they're claiming 15%, and it comes as a tax credit. We can go back for 2 years, but we can only go back 18 months to a year end. So it is stale dating. So if you don't act, you will lose. And it breaks my heart when I meet a company and we meet them like 5 days or 10 days after their time zone has just elapsed. And as a company, we really have done some incredible things like turning around a claim when they only had 2 days left. We've been able to go in, we basically throw bodies at it and we get it done and we get it in on time. There is no forgiveness for being late. Eric, that's true, isn't it? No forgiveness. You miss it, that is it. Get out of here. We have actually tried, but every time we try, it falls on deaf ears. Our process, we go through, we collect the initial information, if we're not doing it in 2 days, that is. We collect the initial information, we assess the projects, we carry out the consultation, we make sure we understand the key elements. We maximize the value of the claim, and we work on a contingency. So we only get paid when our clients get the benefit, which can be a little bit eye-opening when you've got to do all the work, and the CRA then can drag it out for a great length of time at times. We then take it to the CRA, and then hopefully we receive the benefit then, or we go through an escalation process where we have to actually go to war with the CRA, and then we get the cash. So key things: did you do it on purpose? Are you an expert in the field? Were there risks that you had to overcome, risks or uncertainties, if you like? Can you show progression of improvement? Did you move the yardstick of an industry forward? And can we document it? If there are no documents, if there is no evidence that it happened, you are completely out of luck. Now, some key things to say is, in the world that we live in, sweat equity, whilst utterly I respect with all of my heart, sweat equity is worth 0. And if you pay yourself in dividends, you won't be able to get any benefit in this program because dividends happen after the year's finished, logically. So expenses need to be real, they need to be in the year, and they need to be directly attributable to that innovative behavior. So let me open the floor to questions.
Well, Richard, thank you. Which province is the best province to have the maximizing? Which province is spurring innovation the most?
So given that I'm talking to people from Ontario, I bet that you've all suspected which ones get paid the most. It's Quebec. However, it is a program that's consistent. The federal component is consistent across the entire country. Alberta doesn't have a provincial component, which is strange because a lot of innovation does happen in Alberta. But they only finished paying the provincial component relatively recently. I think about a year and a half ago. In most of the other provinces, you end up about 40%-ish. But Quebec is the richest. Just saying.
We didn't know that, or I didn't know that. Okay. Well, I didn't think you're
Stefan, I think you've got a question.
Yeah. I was wondering what was the average life cycle or time span between inception to tax incentive on average.
Okay, so I wish there was an average. There are the ones that get put in, and they're typically first-time claimants, and they come out, and they'll be about 3 or 4 months. There are people who have just been through a full review, and it's the year after a full review, and it feels like it's a rubber ball where you throw it in, it goes pinging straight out within a couple of weeks. It's just amazing. And then there are the ones that usually, let me be clear, usually the RTAs, the tax reviewers who we meet, they're very knowledgeable and they're very, very professional. Occasionally you come across somebody who is reviewing in the construction industry and will come along and say, this is actually the worst line I've ever heard, which was, what is a 2x4? In those scenarios, you're in for a year of torture, because we have to educate them on the industry before we can educate them on the claim. Or if they come along to a winery and they say, I've never drunk wine, I don't understand wine. Any of us who do understand wine and love wine would know the nuances of wine. I mean, let's face it, they've been making wine for many thousands of years. But innovation is coming from the components, the way that the grapes are grown, the way the vines are being managed, the way the wines are being created, the sorts of vessels the wines are being created in, the time they're being left on the skins. There are lots of innovation and lots of invention going on in wineries, which are really rather impressive. But if the RTA doesn't understand wine and doesn't like wine, you end up having to fight to get past that person to another person. So in those scenarios, it can take a little longer. It's still worth it, and it doesn't cost you anything through the process. It costs me a great deal, but it doesn't cost you a great deal through the process. And we do all the work. You just sit there and go, are we done yet?
I think this is the best, Richard, I have to say, best business offer for so many people then.
I was doing a presentation earlier today where the phrase, where clients go, this is sort of a no-brainer, isn't it? Why did I not do this? And I can't think of a reason, once you are informed and educated, I can't think of a reason for not doing it.
Well, I know, and actually, just what you say, that's why I just keep, going, if you, so, the expenses, I was just listening to everything you said, and I'm going, well, it's really a no-brainer. However, what is typically the size of your client? Like, what is the smallest client you would have? Like, where would people in business go, I need to talk to Richard, or,
Okay. The smallest client we have had, can I be very clear?
Yes.
I'm not in a hurry to meet this client again. Our smallest client was $500 for them, and therefore we made about $150. I don't want to do another one of those. It was just as much work, and it was piffling. Our biggest client is about $750,000 in claim to them, but I would say we're seeing the vast majority of our claims are between 70 and 110, I would have thought. We have a load that are smaller than that, and we have a few that are bigger than that.
Okay.
Eric, have you had any experience of this sort of thing?
I have clients who participate in the shred system, and they tend to be between, I would say, refunds between 70 to 150.
Yeah.
You know.
So I'm glad. Thank you again. I'm for validating that I was in the right vicinity. But, and also thank you for validating that we're doing enough.
Yeah.
So Richard, does when you have someone that's going to want to do this, what are the things that you want them to have in play before they come knocking on your door? What makes sense? Like,
if they had everything in play, they don't need us. Our clients really usually are they've got a T2 in place, they've got general ledger in place, but the reality is they may have bits and pieces documented. They might have proof of all the projects they've worked on, but so many of them don't before they meet us, and we basically work with them to help them not create documents, but help them find the documents, because in truth, we just need to evidence it happened. And that could be messaging, that can be emails, that can be a myriad of other things, invoices, it can be spec sheets, and we'll work with them to help them bring their evidence together. We try to encourage them in subsequent years to be more organized, because now they know what they're trying to achieve. But in the first year, we tend to be brushing up odds and sods and helping it come together as a story, and then putting it in a way that it can be presented to the CRA so they can see the truth of actually what happened. From my point of view, if there's an authentic claim, I'm prepared to put the work in to make sure, when I say that's definitely overcalling. People I know are definitely prepared to put the work in to enable you to have a successful claim. We're not expecting it to be pretty and ready. Otherwise, you don't need us.
Okay. I'm still trying to get over the fact that you don't take any compensation until you're paid.
I look at it this way. The first conversation I would have with anybody, I'd have with anybody anyway. So yeah. It's a discovery meeting to see if there is any commonality or common sense. And honestly, truly, I'd wander around and talk at a bus stop. I'd talk to anybody. So in that first 20 minutes, if I ask the right questions, it'll either stand up as innovation and punch me on the nose, or it won't. And if it does, the next level of things are there expenses, and are there are there expenses that are applicable? Because as I said, if you pay yourself in dividends, or if you are doing it at sweat equity, I can't do anything with that, because they're not applicable inside the law. But if there are applicable expenses, again, that's the next stage. So we're not putting a great deal of effort in the qualification component. The effort comes once we've qualified to actually prepare and work with the client to make sure that the story and the case is going to be applicable in the eyes of this law.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? I was just thinking, like, I really like it because it is like, it's interesting because as small businesses, I think you actually relate to small business, large business, doesn't matter. It's all really good business. And first of all, the discovery call, ask the right questions. And if it's the right one, it's going to hit you in the face. You're going, yeah, this is the person. I'm sorry, I just lost what I was going to say. Oh, it must have been a lie. It wasn't a lie.
Josh, you have a question? Well,
Yeah,
Margaret,
I think
Margaret
answers
sorry.
circling
Go
back.
ahead, Josh.
I shared my camera and
Thank you.
unmuted it. And here it comes, the big one. My company is, we develop software, and just listening to you, there's probably 3 projects I can think of over the last 2 years that might actually be a good fit for what you guys do and seeking this type of claim. We have really good documentation, so that's kind of a bonus to get into it. Where things might get complicated is the sweat equity boundary. So we incorporated last October, and so I personally am paid by salary, so I'm not dividends based. And before that, there was significant work done by both myself and a third-party development firm. And so I'm guessing that because we were a sole proprietorship before that October divide, that my own work would be considered sweat equity, because it's, it's the net income of the business. Yeah. But so, anything where I'm expensing with the third party might be able to be claimed for the sole proprietorship, right?
Josh, very well put. The reality is we will put a claim in for the sole proprietor prior to incorporation, and then we'll do then we would do it with the incorporated company afterwards. You're right. If you were not getting a salary from somewhere, you can't have an applicable cost there. However, if you were using a third-party development company, if they were in Canada, the costs or the money that went to them are most likely applicable. Absolutely.
So that's an interesting caveat. If they were in Canada, they certainly were not. So does that kind of rule us out for the sole proprietorship stuff then?
I would have to discuss at another level of depth the contract you have and who you contracted with. If
sure. I mean, it's all specifically through. Actually, no, wait. Yeah, no. We have a contract through some consultants that we've engaged through Upwork, which has a Canadian subsidiary.
So,
right?
So we would have to drill into that. But if you have contracted with, if your money goes to a Canadian entity, in theory, in principle, that would be an applicable cost. We would need to drill into it to be certain, but that in principle, that is an applicable cost.
Sure.
It isn't important, because it's where does the company pay tax. So if they are paying tax in Canada, they are an applicable cost. If they're not paying tax in Canada, it's not an applicable cost. Eric, have you got anything to top up on that? Or...
I think the divide is between companies that have documented management and companies that don't have documented management. So I would say 30% of my clients will never be able to claim a shred credit because they are not mentally set up to be like that.
Right.
They run their businesses, ad hocly. They come here late. We constantly are doing 2 years at a time, all of that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of people who are never going to be in shred, and they're part of what we call the small business community.
Yes.
So the people that we do, the other 70%, tend to be people who have professional management. Even if they don't have outsiders working, they professionally manage their business. There's some division of work. There's some attitude that they're doing something different. There's all of that in place, even if the company has only 3 people.
Yeah.
And then and I have businesses that have 25 people, and they don't know where they're going. They don't know where they've come. And they come here 6 months later all the time, and then they scream that they made money and they don't have money for the taxes. So that's the plight of being an accountant, I guess.
Yes, it's that defining factor, isn't it? Just because the money went into your bank, it doesn't mean it's your money.
Yes.
I mean, and there are occasions where, Josh, where people have an outstanding GST bill, and actually the CRA will apply their shred claim first against the GST claim rather than sending the money out to the client, which is a benefit in itself, in that the liability leaves your shore and is dealt with. But again, we do come across, Eric, sometimes clients who are a little behind, should we say?
Yes.
Oh dear. Okay, so you know what? We are at 1:56, so we're going to be wrapping up this session. Not that I want to stop. It's been great, educational, and I love some of the shares that you did in your presentation, Richard. It was very cool with some of the technology and just thinking outside the box. So really appreciated that. I'm going to ask Bernie. Do you mind sharing what's coming up next Tuesday for? And I'll speak a little bit about Thursday.
Certainly, Margaret Ann. So folks, a couple quick things here, and I always tend to forget this: save your chat. So the 3 little dots, right? And the other parts to tell you about, next week we have Connie Warner coming in to join us. Next week, building caring and accountable relationships. But before that happens, we have a Thursday event. Margaret Ann, what's the specifics on the Thursday event that are going to roll up?
Well, this Thursday is our VIP. If you're a member, you're welcome to just come and join. We send you a Zoom link. If not, it's $10 per meeting. And we're going to be talking about profile boosting, social media, at our VIP strategy session. So if it's time to do some housekeeping, you want to look more professional and see how to really market and get your business out there, this is the meeting that you want to come to. I know Stefan John will be there, and he is an expert at this. And so we'll be sharing his expertise as well. So everybody's invited. And that's from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time every Thursday. I'll hand it back to you, Bernie. Did I miss something? Yes, I did.
No, it's something I forgot to mention. At 5 minutes after the hour, you'll see a little survey, and tell us what we need to know, what you want to add, and etc. So everybody here is, I have your email addresses, and you should see something coming at you.
Perfect. So is there, on our way out, Richard, what would you like people to take away from this call? Do you have a?
I would say this is your money.
Oh my God.
This is your money. It's your right. It's the law that it's your right. It's worth having a conversation with someone to find out if you can apply it to yourself. And most accountants will not be particularly positive about it because they don't understand it in enough depth. And I don't mean that disrespectfully at all. It's just they've got a whole world of other things they've got to deal with. It's worth actually talking to a specialist. And what's the worst thing that can happen? You find out that it's not applicable this year, but if you change these two things, it could be applicable next year. And if you're not doing any innovation, it may be the stimulus for the thing that you've had this passionate thing on the back burner that you wanted to do, but you haven't done. It may be the stimulus to do it.
I think that's it's brilliant and giving people, I think, a lot of food for thought. You know, just teaching people, I'm sure a few on this call, what we did not know. Like, you just don't know. Actually, you know, we take a lot of people get into business and they're not sure what the next step is. So having experts like, you know, Eric and Richard and William and Minnie on this call is what it's all about sharing our knowledge and expertise with each other, so we do actually get better. And we don't get taken for granted out there. We don't get taken, we don't know about all this extra money that we could put in our pocket. And as small business owners, every little bit counts.
It's 2:00.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
So thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank you, Richard.
remainder of your day.
Bye.
Richard, William, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And save your chat, folks.